Service and the U.S. Park Police, which are the lead agencies during these campaign events. Additionally, our city's Joint Information Center will be activated to streamline communication with the public and the media from all city entities. All of these resources and additional staffing will be leveraged beginning next week to ensure we're meeting the needs of any challenges that shall arise or may arise during election week. I want to emphasize that this is just a proactive measure and there's no need for any alarm. While we have not identified any credible threats to our city, we will remain vigilant and ready and prepared to address any issues or concerns that may arise across our city. As always, the Metropolitan Police Department supports individuals peacefully exercising their First Amendment rights. But I want to be very clear. We will not tolerate any violence of any kind. We will not tolerate any riots. We will not tolerate the destruction of property. We will not tolerate any unlawful behavior. Offenders will be arrested and will be held accountable. We also need the public's help in ensuring that we keep our communities safe. If you see something concerning, don't hesitate to report it. For emergencies, please call 911. For non-emergency concerns or to report suspicious activity, please call 202-727-9099 or you can text 50411. And you may also visit iwatchdc.org. Please follow us on our social media platforms for the latest information and any traffic impacts that these events may occur during the city. So we also want to thank you for supporting and helping us keep the District of Columbia safe. Before I open up the floor for questions, I want to just talk about a couple of things that I noticed that everyone is probably monitoring and watching across our city, across the U.S. rather, with respect to our ballot box concerns. As you know, voting is underway here in the District of Columbia. I'm not a politician, but I'm going to tell everybody to get out and vote. That is what our mayor has been proclamating for quite some time now, that DC is open and that we need to get out and make sure that we are exercising our right to vote. And we, as in the Metropolitan Police Department, we will pay special attention to ballot box drop-off locations and our polling places. We are aware of the incidents across the country where ballot boxes have been tampered with, and we will not stand for any instance of voter intimidation, of disruption in this electoral process. We are also working very closely with our Board of Elections, as we do every election, to ensure the safe and secure counting of DC residents' ballots. We are also in close contact with our Board of Election counterparts and will continue to coordinate with them throughout the week. As you noticed today, yesterday started the opportunity for residents to vote, and we will continue this process right up to the election. But as members of the Metropolitan Police Department, we will stand up a full activation next week, which means all Metropolitan members will be working 12 hours, and depending on what happens, maybe a little longer, to ensure that we have enough officers on the street in every corner of our city. And each MPD district will remain fully staffed to be able to work for our residents and businesses and anything that we may expect throughout this time period. So I will take any questions that you may have at this time. Melody, how are you? Yes, ma'am.
You had mentioned prior about 4,000 additional officers coming in
for the inauguration.
For the inauguration,
yes,
and to assist. Any additional officers coming in for this period prior to that, from election into inauguration? Where are they coming from? And then, in addition to that, with all of these additional officers coming in, how do you house them and feed them and take care of their needs?
Well, let me answer your first question first. With respect to what's happening today and what will happen next week, we have certainly been in collaboration and coordination with our federal, local, and state partners, and we have some commitments from some of our police agencies in this jurisdictional area who will provide resources for us if we need it. As you know, we are a member of the Council of Government, which also allows us to, and I'll use the terminology kind of a break glass moment if there's a need for us to call upon other agencies that extends beyond the boundaries of the jurisdiction of the District of Columbia. We can call on those agencies to provide support for us as they have done before in the past. And then when you talk about the 4,000 or so we started this effort very early. I shared with my team because I knew this was going to be kind of a different space that we might be in. And so back in June and July, we started sending correspondents out across the United States. And what we also do is we secure hotel and lodging for them. We ensure that they have the appropriate meals, especially those of them who will be standing on traffic posts for quite some time. And then there's a coordinated effort in that because our Special Operations Division, and of course, when we get to the January 6th, it is an NSSC as well as the inauguration is an NSSC, so we will all kind of funnel up under that same umbrella, but with specific requests of the agencies that we're looking to bring in or members that we're bringing in, we will ensure that they have the appropriate lodging as well as food and any services that they need for personal needs. Mark.
Chief, good morning.
Good morning.
How long will you have the officers on 12s?
Well, we're going to start it next week, and so I think what the best way to do it is to really kind of pay attention to what the intelligence is saying and what's happening here within the District of Columbia. And
So no clear end date on that, just as needed?
Well, right now, we'll say next week. We do have an end date. We kind of have an end date, the 4th through the 6th. But if there's a need for us to expand beyond that, we will certainly be able to do that because our officers will already be on 12-hour tours.
And you talked about an enhanced presence.
A visible presence.
Yeah, so what will that actually look like to residents and visitors?
So today, specifically, where we are managing the 37th annual high heel race in 17th Street Northwest, you will see a visible presence of police officers in that area. In and around the ellipse as well as the Washington Monument grounds, we will have our civil disturbance unit deployed in those areas as well. And most of those officers will also be visibly present in the area, so you'll see an increase of personnel.
And can you tell us, has there been any change? Last time we spoke with you and the mayor, she had not requested the National Guard for anything, but talked about maybe preliminarily laying the groundwork. Has that posture changed at all in any way?
I can't answer that to be truthfully honest, but what we'll do is get back to you on that, Mark. Good question, but I think I'll let the mayor and her team respond to that. We'll get back to you, if that's okay. Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned paying special attention to ballot boxes and some of these polling places. What does that look like? Because that's obviously there are a lot of ballot boxes throughout the city, so I'm assuming that's not a police officer standing next to
That is correct. And so and again, we still have the messaging since 9/11, see something, say something. But I'll tell you, yesterday I voted, right? And I went to the MLK's ballot place to vote, and we had our police officers. They didn't know I was going to vote, but I saw police officers in the area. And that may mean just patrolling the area to make sure everything is okay. That's a part of their duties and responsibilities if they're assigned to a particular PSA or sector. Yes, ma'am.
Beatrice Peterson, ABC News. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign applied for their permit for tonight, and they were estimating 20,000 attendees. I was wondering if you have any indication that there might be an influx of tourists coming tonight. And in addition, your ballot box enhanced security. I was wondering if it's precautionary or has there been any incidents in the city around election security?
Okay, so I'll answer your first question. With respect to the National Park Service really maintains the permit for any events that happen on the National Ellipse, the White House, or even the Washington Monument grounds. Not necessarily the White House. And so the permit is obviously the organizer will obtain the permit. And what we were told initially was that it was about 20,000. We met with the team yesterday, and we're expecting upwards of about 52,000. Now, what I will tell you is that we have checked our tourism locations, lodging, the trains, planes, and we have not seen an increase in any of our lodging facilities here in the District of Columbia. And I've asked my team to reach out a little bit beyond this area, and we have not seen an increase in lodging in the area since yesterday, as of yesterday. What's your second question?
The second question is there an increase of police presence or any incidents that might have happened? Or
No, there are identifiable threats here to the District of Columbia. I think what we have to be mindful of is, like, the intelligence that we receive across other agencies. Clearly, it could happen anywhere across the United States, and what we always want to do is to be prepared, and that is one of the things that the mayor has been doing with the public safety team as well as the other DC government agencies, is to ensure that we are prepared as we go into the election season, but also as we go into January 6th, and as we go into the inauguration, that we are very well prepared here in the District of Columbia. We are not saying that things may not happen, but what we want to ensure the public, as well as our residents, who seem to sometimes have a little anxiety about this, is that we will not reduce our personnel in our residential areas. We will ensure that in some of our business corridors, such as City Center, Georgetown, we will have an enhanced presence of police presence in those spaces as well.
Chief, have you had any
Yes, sir.
calls for service or incidents related to voting places or ballot boxes or anything to do with early voting?
No, sir, not as of today.
You mentioned the full activation for a couple days next week. Are there any other days, weekends before January 6th where you are already preparing for increased posture or full activation at this point?
And here in the District of Columbia, everybody wants to exercise their First Amendment right? And so we do have the Women's March that's coming up, and clearly in years past, we have not had a significant attendance for the Women's March, but you never know. So that is one particular space where we'll be concerned about making sure we have personnel assigned during the Women's March, which happens every year. Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a safe day.